Hey everyone, Merry Christmas. You're here with me outside the cathedral, and I just wanted to spend a couple of moments saying hi and reflecting on Christmas with you all. But firstly, I just wanted to say I'm really sorry we didn't get to do all our Christmas things, and I'm like genuinely sad about that. I was really looking forward to our last, surf club service together. I was really looking forward to midnight mass, which would have been last night, which is going to be at 9:45. There was a singer that was booked. I'd spoken to Kristen and I'd asked whether I could buy robes, some vestments to wear on the night. She said no, but still, I might have been able to borrow some from someone maybe. I might have found some in the cupboard at the Presbyterian Church in Newcastle, potentially. But most of all, I was just sad not to get to see you all over the Christmas period in any kind of official way, at least. And to be honest, it just felt like another kick in the pants in an already kind of difficult year, 2021 has been a horrible year. Think about all the stuff that we've had to go through. The difficulty and uncertainty of lockdowns. How long are they going to go for? When are they going to end? Are we going to be able to send our kids back to school? The fear and anxiety about our loved ones, about our kids, about our parents, about our grandparents, about the people in our lives who are sick, and whether or not if they catch COVID, they're going to be okay, and whether or not we can let this thing go. All the transitions that we've had to go through. But then think of like the division and the pain and the hurt that we've had over vaccines. Is there going to be enough vaccines? How come the vaccines aren't coming out so quickly? Why do these people not getting vaccines? This seems crazy to me. And all the disappointment and frustration that we've had throughout all of that. But it's not even, even just think about the fact that this whole time, it feels like the world is kind of spiraling out of control. Like everything is getting worse, like divisions are getting worse. But it's not just that, not just outside things. Think about the inside things, right? I don't think it's going to be controversial for me to say that I don't think 2021 has been Mitch's best year as a human. I don't think I've been growing in godliness and character at every moment this year. This hasn't been a perfect year for me, I feel like I've been prone to being frustrated. I've felt like I'm on edge. I felt like I'm more sensitive than I have kind of been in the past. And all that stuff is tough, right? I don't know if you feel the same, but it's tough to kind of feel that. But then on top of that, think about us as a community, like the NewCity community. We've had to say goodbye to some friends. Not completely goodbye. It's not like we'll never see them again, but we've kind of gone through a separation of our community. We don't spend every week with some people that we used to, and some people that we genuinely love and care for, and that's an incredibly painful thing. And I think, to be honest, we just have to kind of own that, all of that. This has not been a fantastic year, and nothing I can say is going to change that, right? But I wonder why. This is why it's so good and it's so important that Christmas comes around every year. Because I think Christmas reminds us of a bunch of things that the circumstances of life can make us forget. Christmas, this wonderful story, this narrative that you find, that we rehearse and that we repeat every year. This story that almost becomes uninteresting because we know it so well. We continually need to be reminded of it because all the stuff that happens outside us and all the stuff that happens inside us makes us forget some of the beautiful things that are true about us and about this world, even when they don't feel like it. So what does Christmas remind us of that is true that we might be tempted to forget? Well, firstly, it reminds us of this. Let me read this to you from Luke's Gospel, chapter 1, verse 26. In the 6th month of Elizabeth's pregnancy, God sent the angel Gabriel to Nazareth, a town in Galilee, to a virgin pledged to be married to a man named Joseph, a descendant of David. The virgin's name was Mary. And the angel went to her and said, "Greetings, you who are highly favored. The Lord is with you." As I was kind of thinking about what to say for Christmas, I read a whole bunch of different articles. I should probably post a link to them because they're all fantastic. But Nadia Bolz-Weber, you guys know, she's one of my favorite speakers and my favorite pastors. She made this point. She said, out of all the outrageous things that angel says to Mary, including, you will conceive and bear a child, even though you're a virgin, right? Including that child will be the king and his kingdom will never end. Maybe the hardest thing for her to believe at the depth of her being was that first line, that she is favored by God. Nadia Bolz-Weber goes on to imagine there's probably nothing about Mary that would make her think, or anyone else think, that she is a particularly favored person. She hasn't even had a chance to do anything fantastic with her life. And if God is like the God of the scriptures, then he's not looking for the perfect person to favor and to bless, because God doesn't work like that. He's not looking for some particular virtue. He's just giving out favor, because that's the kind of God that he is. Maybe one of the things that we need to remember at Christmas, and one of the things that the Christmas narrative reminds us of, is this. It doesn't matter where you're from, it doesn't matter who you are, it doesn't matter what's happened to you this year, it doesn't matter what has gone on inside you, it doesn't matter what is going on outside of you, it doesn't matter what kind of relationship breakdowns you've experienced this year, what inner turmoil, what doubt, what fear, what hopelessness. You are like Mary. God is with you and you are favored. This beautiful baby, this baby who is the infinite God in finite form, this baby which is God, reminds us that God is with us, and that we, human beings, all of us, wherever you are from, are favored by God just like Mary. That is something kind of worth holding on to, right, my friends? Yeah, that's a beautiful part of like the Christmas narrative, right? I think one of the other things I wanted to draw our attention to in terms of why it's so important this story is read every year is this. I've read so many articles by so many different people reflecting on this same story in Luke's gospel. I've read Nadia Bolz-Weber, I've read a feminist theologian named Alison Milbank, I've read Phyllis Tickle, I've read Stanley Hauerwas, I've read Alistair McGrath, I've read C.S. Lewis, and a whole bunch more. And I've listened to so many talks. And one of my ideas for a talk for you guys was actually just to list all these different ideas. Alison Milbank talks about how this story is a reversal of the Genesis 3 chapter narrative. Phyllis Tickle talks about how it's so beautiful it must be true. Stanley Hauerwas thinks that when we demand people believe in the virgin birth, it's almost as if we forget that the virgin had a name, and her name was Mary, and Mary is the mother of God. That this is a story, that isn't a belief that we have to kind of sign off on. And I could go on and on about all the different kind of ways that these people saw it. But one of the things this has taught me is this. In 500 years, in 50 years, in 100 years, in 1,000 years, presuming the human species still exists, people are still going to be reading this marvelous story in Luke's gospel. And they're going to be seeing things in it, and it's going to be speaking to them. And the Spirit is going to make this story feel alive in them, in ways that we couldn't even possibly imagine. This story is one of infinite depth and beauty and complexity, because it is the story of how the infinite God became finite in the person of Jesus. So our job is actually, I think, to be like Mary in this story. A couple of times throughout this story, we're told that Mary's response to what God is doing in the world, to this new thing that is happening, Mary's response is simply this. She treasures these things in her heart. You see Mary doing a bunch of things here, actually. She's inquisitive, she's asking questions, she's consenting, she's speaking, she's pushing back, she's asking. But the most important thing that she does, I think, is this. She ponders, she thinks, she reflects. Mary is presented as this woman that has a rich interior life. Her main job is to think and to reflect and to try to understand the infinite God and his work in her and his work in her Son, who is called Emmanuel, God with us. So I think like one of the things the Christmas story teaches is this. Our job as followers of God, as followers of Jesus, isn't necessarily to believe all the right things. It's not even to do the right things. It's to think, it's to reflect, and it's to ponder the goodness and love of God and the favor of God. Are you with me? And you can do that anywhere, at any time, with any amount of knowledge. You can just read the story and you can ponder and you can reflect and you can let the whole thing wash over you. There are a couple of things that I thought we should be reminded of this Christmas. Hopefully they mean something to you. They've definitely meant something to me. This Christmas we remember that God came into the world in the person of Jesus. That in Jesus, he has lifted up us out of the depth of despair, that he has shown us that it's possible to be completely human the way that God has created us to be in every stage of life, that he has loved us, that he has redeemed us, that he has saved us through the person, the work, the life, the death, the resurrection, the example of Jesus. That's what we remember, and that's what we need to be reminded of, my friends. In Jesus' name, amen. I will see you all maybe this afternoon or maybe in the new year. Grace and peace.